Come on, please. Yes! 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 Yes!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of the 9 Dial Podcast, your one-stop shop for talking tungsten. Lorenzo and Josh in for a massive edition because the first 16 nights of the Premier League are done. There's only one to go. Good morning, Josh.
Morning, how are we? Jeez, it's a big show today.
It is a big show today. There's plenty going on. We're mostly focusing on the Premier League because there are only 4 guys left. Only 4 players within a shot of picking up the Premier League title. The 2 Lukes, perhaps not surprisingly, and Gerwin and Nathan are also there. We have, well, it has to be said, it's probably the best 4 from the 16 weeks we've had, the most consistent for the most part, the most standout performances, probably. It should be an exciting finals night that'll happen tomorrow morning as we record this on a Thursday morning, Josh.
You're right about the consistency thing. If we look at the nightly wins 1, Littler 6, Humphries 3, Aspinall 2 and Price 3. So there you go. And then in the bottom 4, only 2 nightly winners out of that. So they've been very consistent the whole way through, very consistent on points, and I reckon it's going to be a beautiful night at the O2 tomorrow morning. Well, tomorrow morning Australian time, that is.
Yes, that is correct. That's where we are at. It should be a cracker. Then there were 4, the best 4, undoubtedly. So, crazy moments. We start with Luke Humphries, miscounting if you can believe it.
There you go.
We won't even play the video. Here we go. I just needed, that's a Foster's ad. We don't need to worry about them.
Oh, you can play it? Oh, sick.
Yep, this is from PC Facebook page. So got the 61-20 left. Now, the question is, did he think that first start was in?
Yeah,
or
maybe.
Wasn't in, rather? Or did he think he needed 140, which could be 60 tops?
Because it was, I'm looking back on it now, it was fairly high in that
It was
in
fairly
that
high.
bed.
It was fairly firmly
It wasn't
in
like
tops.
it was in the middle or like down the bottom. It was it was pretty much on that wire.
It didn't bend the bottom wire. So I don't know what happened there. He confused himself. He still won that leg.
He did.
Littler couldn't take out the 91. He came back, single 20 treble, and then the double for the Shanghai on the 20s. So that was probably the craziest moment of the night. Luke Humphries, a very rare miscount.
Yes.
But that particular match was won by Luke Littler. 6 Premier League nights. It's funny, I've been, the WNBA has got underway, of course, and there's lots of Caitlin Clark talk. And I just see the comparisons between her and Littler in terms of this revolutionary talent who's brought way more people to the sport.
Yeah.
They're in the sort of Tiger Woods, Conor McGregor sort of, in terms of people who have brought a new fandom to a popular but perhaps not well thought about, not really a mainstream sport. 6 nightly wins. He just keeps no one else in the 3s they had before it had even done more than 4. So he's added a couple more on top of that. 45 points. It's a record haul. We got on the next one. 103 average, 169 180s, 57 plus in the leg difference, and 39 plus outs. It's been an extraordinary campaign from Littler. Full 11 points. That's more than 2 nightly wins ahead of Luke Humphries in second. What a player! Unbelievable.
He's been in such immense form, picking up titles basically everywhere. We talk about him every week, don't we? So again, cracking campaign, and I'm sure he'll be heavily favourite for tomorrow night.
He would have to be, but it must be said that the semi-final matches we've got are the best we could have. I was worried we were going to have versus Littler would play Nathan and Humphries would play Price.
True.
But because it's gone the other way, I feel like that fancies the 2 outsiders a bit more. We know Price's record is better against Littler than most, and Aspinall's is much worse than even most against the Nuke. So I think we've got the right matchups. It probably was more deserving, especially based on nightly wins, to get Price there into 3rd place, but I think the way it's gone, Littler, Price, Humphries, Aspinall, it gives us, I'm always saying, manifesting chaos. We want chaos. Chaos is a good thing. So, I haven't been the first person. Dan Simpson of Online Darts Live Lounge has always said that, but I think we got the best 4, and let's be honest. So here we go. The positive surprise for me is just that Aspinall and Price will be there.
Yep.
On form, they really shouldn't have been in the Premier League. I think when you look at their 2024 season in terms of ranking money, they were like 26 and 31 or something ridiculous. But they're fantastic players. I think we even knew, particularly Price from that World Series, those couple of World Series events, particularly in Bahrain. that, and even Aspinall too to a degree, that they would bring something to this year's Premier League, and they've been strong. And I'm quite glad for Nathan, given how much he's missed out in previous years. He's been a bit unlucky.
Well, this is the thing for Aspinall. He was criticised that he's only there for his walk-on, right? Obviously, it's a massive walk-on, Mr. Brightside, right? But he is proving everyone wrong. Third on the table, 2 nightly wins, sitting on 26 points, and he'll be there. So, very happy for him. Very happy for him, as Price as well. So, yeah, no MVG, no Dobie, no Cross, no Bunting, unfortunately, your man. But
he did pick up a nightly win, Bunting. But
yeah,
it's a good mix. We've got 3 Englishmen and a Welsh there as well. Price is another one who he's been in the Premier League a ton, but I think this is only second or third playoff night here. He's been one who hasn't particularly done
far
well in the Premier League. It's not really a format that necessarily has suited him as much. I mean, more than 12 months ago, he was saying, I'll never play in the Premier League again. And here he is. He might win it from 4th place and with 3 nightly wins during the regular season. The biggest flop from this entire year's Premier League has definitely been Michael Van Gerwen. No nightly wins for the first time in this format in the 4th year it's been running. It's got a lot of family issues. He's splitting from his wife.
Yes.
So I don't. There was just too much against Michael Van Gerwen. Too much work to do. Wasn't consistent enough. Only 2 nightly because I was looking through, particularly just making sure that my spreadsheet, which we'll see later, the final version of the spreadsheet is coming later. I was just looking through, going. He couldn't string together 2 or 3 games in a row at all any night for the last 4 months.
Yeah, fairly disappointing. Again, we mentioned this a lot of times, that time that he took off in the Premier League for that week and that 6-0
in Berlin.
What's it called?
Walkover.
Walkover. Yeah, I said on air that could kill him, and that's enough. That's
it's certainly
pretty true. I think
it certainly dented his any momentum he did have. He just never really was able to really get going in this year's Premier League when he needed a big nightly win, which Michael in the past would have done. Hasn't quite happened. I don't think, basically reading the tea leaves, I don't think we'll see him at all between now and the match play.
Yep.
So we know he's not playing the World Cup. That was already known.
Unfortunately.
Any World Series events that he's already been booked for, I don't think he'll go to those. So they'll need to find someone else if they haven't already. Given one of those is next week, we'll see what happens there.
Yep.
But Michael Van Gerwen definitely the most disappointing of the lot, basically in terms of expectation. I mean, many wouldn't have expected Stephen to come last, but he did play well.
He did
in many games.
At the back end, gotta say, especially.
If we look at average, right, over this tournament, we got 102.43. Not surprisingly, Humphries is, Littler is in front and Humphries second. Cross, amazingly, has the 3rd highest average. Another one who's played well, but just hasn't put it all together.
No nightly wins
Bunting
as well
4th,
for him.
Dobie 5th, Price 6th. Aspinall bizarrely has a worse 3-dot average across the competition than Michael, but being second last. And what have we got? If we look at checkout percentage, I think that's the real one that really important. Bunting last, unsurprisingly. He didn't have many darts at double. Price second last. So look, Van Gerwen, he just wasn't. He was okay in bits, but he wasn't good enough on
around
a night or two.
Yeah.
He needed more than 2 finals. He definitely needed way more than 0 nightly wins to get into this year's finals. So Michael Van Gerwen, very disappointing. Hopefully we'll see a better version of him come the match play. And when we get to those big ranking tournaments, we do sometimes see that from Michael. We saw it at the most recent editions of the match play and the World Championship when he made the final. There was a Euro Tour event as well, and we won't really litigate the crowd thing, but they were very odd this weekend. Sometimes they were great, and sometimes they were really poor. This wasn't actually it, though. This is just another random Euro Tour event because I couldn't actually find a photo of the Rosmarlin crowd. So yeah, it continues to be a bit of an issue, and we've litigated many times before. There's many more nuances to it, but it was a bit disappointing when it did happen. The worst one was, I think, one of Menzies' games. It was very odd. So that was a little bit disappointing. But we'll get to the Euro Tour because what wasn't disappointing was its winner of the tournament. I'm very excited who won that particular event, so we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yes.
I need to make sure I have that Wikipedia page up when we get there. Right. Peter Manley, you said some very interesting things, and I'm going to try and bring you up. He was speaking to Online Darts and Phil Bars. He is the chairman of the Professional Darts Players Association, and once I bring this actually up, let's hear what he said. Now, there's a couple of different lines I want to go down through this. Is this the right thing to say from the person who's basically head of the Players Union at large? But also, more importantly, Is he right? I think what's happened here is this isn't Manly, the head of the players' union, speaking. This is Manly, the old grumpy dart player, speaking.
Fair.
So this is
Old
Peter.
school.
This is Peter Manley with online darts.
This is all news to me. So.
And it's one of a lot of players, and it comes from a lot of players that probably aren't doing too well, and realising that obviously Barry's golden ticket isn't a golden ticket as far as they're concerned. But then the PDC do as much as they can to give the prize money and the structure that they've got now, that they can't. It's never going to please everyone, regardless of what you did. Now, obviously, the prize money went from 1,000 to 1,250. Everyone's saying, "Why didn't you give the 250 to the?" But why? You haven't won a game, and you know Barry's words from the beginning was, "You've always got to win a game. You cannot just turn up and earn money." So the golden ticket really starts and finishes with the fact that you can now earn £1 million as a world champion, and no one stops you. You've got so many chances to qualify now for the World Championship that if you don't, you know, you've got to look at yourself and think, well, either you're going to do some more work and get into it, and you know, there are players that we could probably pick out that we know that are looking, and one to me, just immediately comes is Ross Smith. So when you look at him last week in the Players' Championships, 2 9-darters, wins the event. Was it 24 legs? 24 consecutive legs. I mean, it's fantastic. The kid wants to be in the Premier League. He wants to be, you know, better than what he is. He wants to win more. And that's what they all should have. And if they haven't, then they don't deserve to be there.
Yeah, so that was, like I said, I don't think... I mean, yeah, let's be honest. As they are very odd words to come from the Players' Union, particularly the bit about... The prize money for first round losers, which we won't really litigate.
We've talked about that.
We've talked about that many times, so we won't worry. But I don't see that as Peter Manley, the head of the PDPA. I think Online Darts was being a bit sneaky when they threw that in there. I think that was Peter Manley, who was, for the unaware, was a player in the 2000s, played in the Premier League in those first few editions, won the now defunct Las Vegas Desert Classic Major. He played in 3 World Finals, got whitewashed 7-0 twice by Phil Taylor. So he's probably one of these guys who probably thinks if I was around just a little bit later, I would have more of this money, more of these opportunities, more majors, more sponsors.
True.
So that's how I see it from Peter Manley. It's probably not the right thing to come from the Players' Union head guy, basically, to just be repeating what the PDC Hearn Porter position is. But I see it really more as the grumpy as a grumpy Peter Manley instead of the head of the Players' Union. That's probably a fair assessment, I would see.
I agree.
I would think.
He's not very optimistic about it. He's just sort of negative Nancy about it all. But the thing is, when he said the moaning players, we know who it is. We know who they are. Obviously, Menzies is a prime example, falling to the ground and all that sort of stuff, and hitting the darts of the board and all that sort of stuff. So it's an interesting point. He made a few interesting points there, but the main one about the moaning players, do you think someone at the PDFA should be saying something about that? That's
probably
the thing.
not.
That's the thing.
Not publicly. I mean, behind the PDPA, yeah, they're a bit of a useless organisation, to be honest. We don't make fun of them enough on this show. They do on the Live Lounge. They're a bit useless and not really able to do what they want.
We don't talk about them much.
We don't talk about them much because we have enough to talk about anyway. But if it was a 2-hour show, I'd like to spend a good half an hour maybe one day on the PDPA and its inability to do anything. So it's probably really not the right thing to be saying, particularly when most players' opinion, particularly from that bottom half, is we would like some money for losing first round of the Pro Tour or money out of Q School, that sort of thing, which we've talked about endlessly. But is he right about moaning players? I think so. There's quite a few moaners, and I mean Peter Manley. If you know anything about Manley's career, he was the biggest moaner of them all. So he'd be aware of that sort of thing. So I thought it was very odd comments to come from someone in the position that he's in, but perhaps not entirely unfair when you look at what Manley's career was like and the situation we're in at the moment, where darts is in a relatively good spot, and there's still plenty of complaining from players. Not entirely out of order, not entirely without a point. But yeah, so I thought they were very odd very interesting comments from Peter Manley, who there was speaking more as former player who didn't have the chance that these guys get rather than head of the Players Union.
Yeah, I agree. It's some interesting points, but I think we both came to the agreement that he's sort of the old school type of guy. He's not sort of embracing the new stuff, but that was very interesting. Very interesting. That was a good clip. Enjoyed that.
The future star this week is Jasmine Rock-Harvard. There was absolutely nothing from the JDC this week. So I had to go back a couple of weeks where I think she made a final or a semi-final. She's the highest ranked player that we haven't talked about. So Rebecca Allen and Paige Pauling are ahead on that sort of girls series. There's some stuff coming up later this week in the JDC side of things. I think there's more, foundation or advanced tour, that sort of thing. Not the highest of averages, but currently sitting third there in the girls series. So which is a pretty good achievement given the quality of players, particularly above her, those we've already mentioned.
Yeah.
The big news out of the European Tour, other than the winner of the event, was the announcement that the 2026 PDC World Darts Championships at the Alexandra Palace is not just going to be the first to 128 players, it'll also be the last to hear the voice of perhaps the greatest darts referee of all time, George, formerly the puppy, or the ground dog now, groundhog, George Noble. He's wrapping up at the end of this one after such a fantastic career. Spent so many years in the BDO, called about just about every world final in the BDO for about 10 years. Jumped over to the PDC. So many classic moments. Just have
so
Noble.
Memories.
So many 9 darters he's been involved in as the referee. Including the Darts Archive match that I have later, funnily enough. That wasn't... I had this one planned for this episode, but it just so happened that George Noble was in that match. My favourite 180 call by some distance.
Yeah, okay.
You would think he would get... You would think he'd get the world final, surely.
Yes, hopefully. Well, Russ Bray got that world final last year when he called time on his PDC career refereeing. So, yeah, you'd hope he gets it as well. The reason why I say that, because he's got a very soft voice when he does it. You got Russ, who's very loud and aggressive, but he's just the other side of the sort of spectrum there. But no, he's been one of the voice of darts for many, many years, that's for sure. And yeah, I'm sure he'll wrap up his time soon. But yeah, he's been a fantastic referee for many, many years.
Absolutely.
Sad to see him hang up the boots.
I don't think he'll do what Ross sort of does. He'll continue. He's been working behind the scenes at MODUS. Maybe he'll referee at MODUS. I don't know.
Maybe.
But
hope so.
Like what Paul Hinks does, that sort of thing. We might see him a little bit, but I think for the most part, we'll enjoy George Noble for the rest of this year in that 180 call, because there aren't too many left. Just about those last 7 months. It was announced during the European Tour about that. The great referee George Noble. Right up there with Russ Bray and Bruce Spendley and Kirk Bevins and others as the among the greatest darts referees we've ever seen. Will finish up at the upcoming PDC World Darts Championship qualification point, for which we are still waiting for PDC. Right, that European Tour, I've dodged it a few times. Go, Johnny, go. Jonny Clayton.
Johnny be good.
We should probably do a great debate at some point about who could be in contention for next year's Premier League, because he's up there for mine. He's currently provisionally world number 5 after the World Championships. Playing well, got to that World Masters final earlier in the year and picked up a European Tour victory. I love it when Johnny plays well. He's such a watchable dart player.
He is. I think his throw in isolation is pretty cool, but no, he's a great guy. He was very disappointed about not making the Premier League. He actually said that online. He actually voiced his opinion, and
he's a former Premier League winner, so he knows what it takes.
Which you'll get to my
we'll talk about later. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so he had a fantastic, superb 8-6 win against Nico Springer on Sunday.
Nico Springer is another one who might be. He'll take a few more years.
I think he's
Johnny,
also
a big potential, I don't know, for 5 years' time, maybe Premier League.
I think he's the runner-up of our positive surprise for this sort of week. I think he's been in some great form recently, so good to see him there, but it's all about Johnny, isn't it? He's been fantastic, so love seeing him win on the stage.
Absolutely. Nearly 100 average against Max Hopp, dropped down to just below 90, but still got the job done against Ross Smith, and then 106.85 against Noppert. And then beating Luke Humphries, which is always hard to do.
That's very
98
hard.
Average, and then just about 99 average in the final against Nico Springer. We're seeing a lot of seeds versus non-seeds finals in this European Tour, and I know we talked about this when it came in, and a lot of people were angry. at the Euro Tour changes. I was one of the more lean towards them, but I think it has been a good thing for the most part. Seeds not having it their own way always in that second round. Those first round matches are much more competitive and more interesting. So and we're seeing plenty of non-seeds make their way to finals as well. And even when we got two seeds, it's always been a few outsiders for the most part. So you think 10v13 or something like that. If they're even on the different side of the bracket. Are they on the different side of the bracket? Is 10-13? Can they meet in a final? Who knows? Anyway, yes, they can. I think, yeah, they can. So Jonny Clayton picking up a European Tour title in Rosmalen at the Dutch Darts Championships, and so a great weekend for him, and a great weekend as well for Nico Springer, who might be the next German star. The Germans are coming along nicely.
They are,
we can just see them a bit more on the big TV screens. We're going to have that big boom in Germany, what we already slightly have. That has always been promising. So well done, Jonny, and well done, Nico, as well, for big weekends at the European Tour event there in the Netherlands. Only Luke Humphries of the Premier League guys went, but he beat Humphries on the way there, and it was Stephen went as well, to be fair. But of those, really thinking of there was no Littler, no Price, and no Aspinall. Those guys who'll be in the Premier League playoffs this week. It was just Humphries, but he beat them. So, well done, Jonny. There's some affiliate tour stuff going on.
Yes.
Firstly, over in New Zealand, Puha and Tartar. Maybe guys we will see later in the year.
Yep, we had the DPNZ ProTours back in Hamilton last week. We had Puha and Tartar. Actually, right.
They are funny thing. I was looking at that going, is that how it's supposed to be?
No, it is. No. It is. So they were victorious across the weekend. So event 7, we had Puha with a victory, 5-0 whitewash against Jamie Hilton-Jones, 6-2 win against David Adams, and 7-2 over John Herring in event 7. Tartar was victorious in event 8, 5-1 over Craig Caldwell, 6-5 in a very close game against Anthony Benitez, and a 7-0 whitewash against Mark Cleaver in the final. So some good results there, and some nice bit of money on board there. So very good.
Absolutely. And on the China ProTour, Lu, Zong, and Zhu, who we've seen a few times, the other couple in the definitely in the World Cup, were also winners on that Chinese Pro Tour as well. So it's good to see the affiliate tour players really, particularly those that we see semi-regularly on sort of the World Championship, World Cup of Darts side of things, pick up wins. You would presume that all of this would help them make in the World Championship, though we are still waiting. We
are waiting.
Badly, I want to see how that looks. So the Chinese Pro Tour continues in July as the race for the PC Asian Championship also make their way along as well.
I may as well go.
Lu Zong and Zhu won events 1, 2, and 3.
Yep. So I may as well go through some of the results. So in event 1, Lu won. He won 4-0 against Harley, 5-3 against Zan. I'm just going to go with their last name because I don't want to offend. And then we had Zong with the victory in event 2. He won 4-3 against Bin Zheng. 5-1 against Yao
These are from the quarterfinals on.
Yeah, quarterfinals on. And then 5-2 against Qingu Zan. Hopefully I've pronounced that right. Event 3, Tong Zhu had the victory. 4-3 against Yang Jin Lu. Hopefully I spelled that right. Sorry. And where are we? 5-2 against Jun Long Yin in the semi-final, and won 5-4 in a very close game against Yinggu Zan. So
Zan made a couple of finals
there,
not able to get over the line.
Yep.
Including one in the last legger.
It was the event 2 and event 3. He was in the final, so a good run for him. Good to see.
Hello. Sorry, I thought I heard the door close.
Yeah, same. Never mind.
Anyway, that happened. No, we might even leave that in because that happens a lot in this room.
Yeah, it does actually. There you go.
Where the door seems to. There seems to be a sound of a door closing. Anyway, we will proceed. So
that was the China Pro Tour.
This is all yours because I haven't seen this.
Yes.
Barney aiming to spend less time on the Oki.
Yes, that's true. Yep. So he mentioned, I think it was on one of the sites, or it was on Facebook, something that he's aiming to spend less time on the Oki for this year. Well, he is coming to sort of the conclusion of his career.
Well, he came to the conclusion of his career in 2020. That he had a bunch of exhibitions lined up against Phil Taylor, and then COVID happened, so he came back.
So that was cancelled. So obviously he's not on the Premier League or anything, but he's in some of the local tours still. But yeah, he just mentioned online that I think he'll be slowly but surely sort of wrapping up his time in the league. So, I mean,
In
look,
PDC.
in PDC, that's right. He's had a fantastic career, hasn't he? So,
Absolutely.
no official timeline on when he'll give it all up, but I think slowly but surely he'll.
We're not that far
hang
away.
the darts up
For the 5-time world champion, who's currently sitting 14th in the world match play race on the Pro Tour Order of Merit. So more likely than not, I think we will see Barney at Blackpool, an event where he's hit a 9 data, but I don't think he's won there. Just a Premier League and a World Championship, but not a World Match Play. MODUS Super Series time.
Yes,
We've got a
lots of
couple more
MODUS.
international pairs. We know there'll be a South Africa pair that is due to be revealed, and Jim Vansky and Danny Van Dijk for the Netherlands as
They'll be
well.
back. Yep. We're still waiting on, hopefully, Australia cool up somewhat. They got, 9 spots there. Hopefully, they get announced somewhat next month or so. We had week 2 commence last week. Scott Taylor was your winner. Had a 4-0 victory over Tom Cromwell, averaging 106.
103.66.
Sorry, 103.66.
Still good. 106,
Yeah,
103.
not too bad. 3 180s. 4 out of 6 on the doubles. And it's something that sort of pissed me off. 130 plus, 170 plus. Where is the 140 plus?
Yeah, that's
Who writes 130 plus?
I think
the averages?
I think that's on the breakdown. That should be 140 plus.
Yeah,
I think
strange.
I think that's a mistake.
Hopefully it is because obviously
No one goes
who does 130 plus? So very good win for Scott Taylor. Had a great week and he'll be in Champions Week at the conclusion of week 12. Just got some finals night results here. Warburton lost 4-3 against Taylor. Cromwell 4-1 against Bradley Rose. He was good throughout the week, got to say.
Yep.
And Taylor the victory as we know. Move on to week 3.
Now hang on a minute. Hang on. What month it is? What month is it, Josh?
It's the 29th of May.
It's May. Yeah.
And Adrian Lewis was what? Sometime in May. MODUS, explain yourself, please.
I went looking, and he's got exhibitions booked throughout the year. So it's not like he's dropped dead and we haven't noticed. He's still supposed to be playing darts. So I'm not sure what's happened there. So sometime in June, maybe.
As long as my eyes are correct, I cannot see his name there in
I
Group
see
A,
Martin
B,
Adams.
or C.
I see some great names.
Yeah,
Alex
there's some
Small,
good
Graham
names.
Hall,
Yep.
Martin Adams is now in Group C.
Brian Ramon.
Jamie Lewis, Jamie Owens, John O'Shea.
Yep.
Great names.
Good names,
Not
but-
who we want.
Not jackpot. So, MODUS, please explain yourself. We've been
Maybe
eagerly
next week.
waiting.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week, hopefully. But then
Maybe week 12. Who knows?
but then it'll cross by June then. So, come on. We're eagerly waiting. I'm sure thousands of people are eagerly waiting too. So, just disappointing, but got some good names regardless. And we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely.
Got the standings.
Here we are. So this is what things are like at the end of
Group A, since we're
Group A.
since
We're recording this
filming
on a Thursday, so
Yep.
we have those results for you now.
Yep. So Kevin Beness was the winner of Group A. He'll be in finals night on the Saturday. Pretty competitive on that sort of top 4 range. Will Beaton and Pim Van Bijen have some work to do in Group C. So Graham Hall, Alex Small and Brian Rahman will go to Group B. Will Beaton and Prim Van Bijen will go to Group C, rather. So keep track throughout the week.
We didn't do a darts counter match because we are too busy,
too much time on the
so we'll come
assessments.
back next week.
Yep.
The final spreadsheet version, weirdly, there's a half error on the Wikipedia page because it lists Gurn Price's walkover as a match for Price, but not for Van Gogh. So I'm looking at this going, this can't be right. I can't see my error. And we're like, it's the Wikipedia thing. So
Yeah.
that's how it ended up. 22 matches was the least of anyone for Bunting. Everyone played each other at least thrice, except for one matchup I see here. Cross and Van Gogh, the
seen
two
that.
ball men. Given
Couple twos there.
just on the 2 occasions, given they were the only 2 guys who didn't win a night, this sort of makes sense.
Sort of makes sense in the end, when you look at it.
Oh, there was another one as well. Bunting Van Gogh as well, I think. Or was that an error on my part? No, Bunting Van Gogh as well as the other one. So they only met in quarterfinal matchups. The big standout is Littler Humphries, a full 8 times.
Wow.
Which, I mean, to be fair, if you want any of these matchups 8 times, you take Humphries, Bunting, Van Gogh, and Aspinall playing each other 6 times feels a bit over. Any other standouts? No 7s. There's a few 6s in there. Van Gogh and Littler 6 times. Littler basically played everyone a bunch. Dobie was his least with 3. Price 4 feels unders. So that's where this entire thing is gone. Interesting exercise that we've had throughout. That's where things stand. Anything else stand out? There's a few 5s in there as well. Littler Bunting 5 times. That's mainly because it should have been 3, but because they were first versus 8th on had the halfway stage, and at the end they played each other an additional time.
Yep. Yeah, it's really just the MVG one and Bunting too. I mean, obviously Bunting got knocked out in the sort of quarterfinals a lot, which makes sense.
Yes.
But unfortunately. But yeah,
the entire first half of the competition, it was one and done for Stephen, unfortunately.
Yeah.
No bucket hat.
Oh, sorry.
Very disappointed.
The Humphries Littler one's probably the most obvious 8 times, but hey, I mean, they make all those finals, so makes sense, right?
Absolutely.
All those nightly wins. Had to play each other eventually.
They had to, right. So that is the final version of the spreadsheet. We will bid it a goodbye. These are predictions for night 16, or was it night 15, Josh? You made an error there that I didn't even spot until after you put it on Instagram. Which, by the way, even if that was correct, you probably didn't need to write night 16 twice. Anyway, we'll get that fixed up for next time. Let's go through these, shall we? Which is something we don't ever go back on our predictions, usually. So, unless it's the nightly winner. So, we'll go through them. Littler beat Bunting 6-1. So, we were both the same distance away. As we both had them 6-3. I just picked Van Gogh just because I really wanted him to win to keep the night alive. So you were closer to the pin there. 6-4, Humphrey 6-2 me. It was 6-4, so you were bang on there. And then, we probably forgot this, but the main reason that Gurn Price is playing Littler instead of Humphries is because he was 5-1 up in this match. And then Dobie, who had a brilliant second half of the league, just turned it around and won 6-5, which means I was technically closer to the pin there at 6-4, though it wasn't looking likely. Because of that, Gurn Price got knocked out in the quarterfinals, so you weren't close there on your 90 predictions. I was much closer by picking Humphries, who lost 6-3 in the final, to Littler.
I picked Price and he got knocked out in the first round in a fantastic game against Dobie.
Who was closer there? Might have been me on the tiebreaker of that one, but you had more of the quarterfinals close. I was way closer on the nightly winner. We will have something similar being put up. I hope Josh will get around to that.
Yes, I will.
We'll
do that.
This week, there it is. Thank you. I wanted to add that sort of photo. A photo similar to that will be on the thumbnail.
Only thing is, like, they're all looking to the sun. They're all like squinting their eyes at the cameraman.
They're not. And by the way, whoever took this photo isn't clearly the main photographer, because then no one's actually, apart from maybe Gerwin, it's not really looking at whatever camera this one was taken on.
Bit odd.
Anyway, night 17 of the Premier League is a playoff night. It also coincides with the end of our uni semester. So, hip hip hooray, it's all coming to an end. It's the last, given we're in Australia, it's the May, it's also the end of autumn, it's the end of a month, it's everything's coming to a close here. Right, shall we get into our predictions?
I have mine.
I've been sitting on mine for about a week. We'll go in order, as we always do. Littler Humphries. Littler Price, I'm getting ahead of myself. Littler Price is our first matchup. This one has been close throughout. We've seen so many great matchups between these two. Josh, who wins and by what score?
Price's record against Littler is just too hard to look by. So I've got Price in this one. Might be slightly controversial. I know, after Littler just came with a nightly win. His 6th nightly win, as we know.
So after all of that dominance, you're saying Littler doesn't even make the final?
Yep, I agree. So we'll go Price 6-4.
It's first to 10.
Oh, shit. It is. Oh, sorry. It is 2. Oh, best of 9. Oh, good grief.
Best of 19 is first to 10. You got to...
Good grief.
I knew you were going to do that. Everyone forgets the format of these things. I'm the only one that looks at the best of formats in all of this. Because you see it on the Fallout bar online darts as well. Everyone goes, remember, it's best of 4 sets at this time, this round of the worlds. It's first to 10, Josh.
Got to notice that. All right, we'll go 10-8.
There we go. I'm going to go the other way. I think it will be close. But I think he's had too good of a Premier League not to even make the final. So in the last leg, just side up because it will be close. 10-9 to the Nuke.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-final 2 is Humphries and Aspinall. Shall I go first while you make sure you get your score right?
Good idea.
I've got this one as much more one-sided. Luke Humphries to win 10 legs to 5.
Okay. Oh, boy. Humphries, Aspinall. I think Humphries will get it done fairly easily, but I give Aspinall a few legs. We'll go, oh my God, 12-6.
10.
Oh.
There's no tiebreaker in this one.
I keep doing it
If
wrong.
that was the world match play, you might be right. All right, 10-6. He's useless. Right. The final is first to 11,
morning,
Josh.
right?
It's first to 11, best of 21, like every other major final except for the World Cup.
Let's not get it wrong. Huh?
It is first to 11 legs takes the title. I have the top 2, which is boring, but it's what will happen. Luke Littler and Luke Humphries. Now, if we do get this final, there'll be a bit of history made. Either Luke Littler will successfully defend his Premier League title, or Luke Humphries will become the 4th ever man to win the Triple Crown of the World Championship, the World Match Play, and the Premier League. So far only done by Phil Taylor, Michael Van Gerwen, and Gary Anderson. Shall I go first while you make sure you got the format right?
Go for it.
I am saying that we will see a repeat of what we saw 12 months ago in a Battle of the Lakes. Luke Littler to retain his Premier League title, 11 legs to 9 in the final against Cool Hand. The Nuke wins by score of 11 legs to what, Josh? You're between Price and Humphries. Will we see?
Will
we see the great Premier
close.
League winner pick up the Premier League title, or will we see the Triple Crown be completed?
I think it'll be very close. I've got Humphries 11.
I
can go all the way. 11-10.
11-10. Wow. All right. So there's some bold predictions out there. We've got each
messed up predictions for me, but hey, we got there.
So we got a last leg decider between each of us. I'm going for a Littler win against Humphries, and you've got a Humphries win against Price.
There we go. I'll make sure I have that on Instagram, and I'll make sure I'll go back and make sure I don't do 6. I do...
Or 12, or... Geez. Anyway.
11.
Right, we got there
Apologies,
eventually.
Viewers.
Alrighty.
Yes, Darts Archive.
Darts Archive time. 2021 Premier League final was won by the aforementioned Jonny Clayton, beating the great Jose de Souza, the big fella, the special one.
Fantastic game. Yes, Jonny Clayton clinched his first Premier League title with a victory, 11-5 against de Souza in Milton Keynes. Just look a little bit at the game in isolation. So the early phase, Jonny took out a 1-2-1 on the bullseye to go 3-1 up, broke de Souza's throw, and then it's so close to perfection, Jose, in that 10th leg. And then the 8th leg to bring it back to 5-3. He won, and then, Jonny won 6 out of the next 8 legs to claim victory, and he became the first Welshman to win the Premier League.
Price will be the second if he does it.
We'll find out.
This week. So, this week, well, we mentioned George Noble earlier. He's the referee for this match. How good is this match I've got for you this week? Well, Sidney Waddell, the late, great, legendary darts commentator, when the winning double went into the board, declared let me get this right. You've just seen the best televised darts match ever. 2010 Premier League final at the Wembley Arena. Long-time viewers of the show will know that we mentioned this night earlier when we did James Wade's semi-final win against Simon Whitlock.
Yes.
There was a power outage at the Wembley Arena the night before, so they had to move it from a Sunday night to a Monday night. So there's a small crowd, but they're making lots of noise. James Wade is the defending champ because he won it last year. I think he beat Mervyn King in the final after King beat Taylor in the semi-final stage. Is best of 19 legs. An historic first happens in this game, which we haven't seen before or since. Close throughout, high finishes, plenty of drama. So perhaps the best Premier League and really televised darts match of all time between Taylor and Wade is this week's Darts Archive.
On the thumbnail, he's actually on a 9 data. So
yeah, well...
Will he get it? I don't know.
Well, that was James Wade on a 9 data there.
Yes.
There we go. So that's much younger James Wade too.
Yes.
Rightio, we're done.
Usually hits 9 darts against him. So
yeah, exactly. Right.
There you
We're
go.
done. We got the format right, hopefully. That it'll be best of 19, best of 21 is the final.
Didn't sleep well.
The finals
there you
night.
go. Blame that.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, Josh, for sitting down and
Yes.
doing another
Thank
big
you, as
show. We
always.
had a bit going on. So next week's going to be a bit different because we'll have no Premier League. We'll have a review, but not a preview.
Of course.
We'll preview the World Series event that's happening in, I think it's Denmark. I think it's Nordic. That's happening. That will happen next weekend. There's also a European Tour event as well on, which we should mention. That's happening at the European Darts Open. So that's somewhere in Germany. Leverkusen.
Oh,
there
yes.
you go. So that's exciting.
Should be more Pro Tour action, some more MODUS as always.
Oh, there's always MODUS. There's
hopefully Adrian
more
Lewis,
JDC
we can talk about
stuff.
him next week.
Yes, Nordic Darts Masters is next week, and then we move on to the World Cup of Darts. That's so close. We look forward to that event.
Wait.
Paul Liv is nearly here. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that's
Come
all
on,
we have
Australia.
time for. Thank you very much, Josh, again. Thank you
Pleasure.
very much for listening. Like and subscribe to Extra Time and all of our related social media channels if you haven't already. This has been the 9 Dart Podcast.